Hey everybody, I am doing a video on 40 plus crazy, amazing, weird facts from Canada. Well, for one, Canada is the second largest country in the world behind Russia. Canada's lowest recorded temperature, 81.4. I know last winter on January 1st, we had a record temperature of minus 38 degrees Celsius here in Kanata with a wind chill of over minus 40 degrees Celsius. Crazy. And by first that previous year on Canada, it was plus 4. We go from one extreme to the other. Canada is the world's most educated country. Over half of its residents have college degrees, and even more so where I live in Canada, which has Silicon Valley of the North. More than 75% here has a college or a university degree, anything post-secondary or some sort of certificate. So it's very well educated, and that is quite an amazing fact. Canada has more lakes than the rest of the world's lakes combined. Seriously, we have the most fresh water than almost the whole world. But we have the most lakes. That's why wherever you go in Canada, you will find a body of water, lakes, rivers, streams. Canada consumes more macaroni and cheese than any other nation in the world. And here, the macaroni and cheese from Kraft Dinner, we call it KD. So that might be a unique fact for just being in Canada, but it is a fact. Prostitution is legal in Canada. Buying the services of a prostitute is not, though. Figure out that one. So being a prostitute is legal, but the person who's buying the services can go to jail. Residents of Churchill, Canada, leave their cars unlocked to offer an escape for pedestrians who might encounter polar bears. Interesting fact. Actually, most places up north, if you go up, people will leave their cars unlocked because you never know when there's polar bears or other bears you might encounter. Milk here, we don't have it in jugs. We have some in cartons, cardboard cartons, but we have it in bags. So our milk bags are 4-liter bags with 3 bags of milk in it. So it's like 1.33 liter, which is our 4-liter bag is close to your gallon of milk in the States. And so we buy milk jugs and we buy our milk in bags, and then the bags go into recycling. The first Canadian casualties of the Afghanistan war were from an American pilot bombing a training exercise. That's a kind of sad Canadian fact. License plates in the Northwest Territories are shaped like polar bears. So instead of being rectangle, they're shaped like polar bears. Canada has the largest coastline in the world. It is because up north in the Northwest Territories, all those individual islands, counting the coastlines, all the way up to the Arctic. In 2010, a Canadian man rescued a newborn baby from a dumpster, only to find out he was the father. Isn't that a weird fact? Like, that is crazy. Imagine you're hearing a noise in the dumpster and you go and find a baby and then you find out it's actually your kid. That's weird. Here's an interesting fact for this time of year. Every Christmas, 1 million letters are addressed to Santa Claus at his own postal code, HOHOHO, North Pole, Canada. So, all you kids out there, send your wish list to Santa Claus because he lives in Canada. He's in the North Pole, and the letters will get to him. And you'll usually get a letter sent back. In Newfoundland, Canada, the Atlantic Ocean sometimes freezes, so people play hockey on it. Imagine the ocean freezing. It gets so cold, the ocean freezes. The Mall of America is owned by Canadians. What? Did you guys know that? Did you Americans know that the Mall of America is owned by Canadians? That was a weird, interesting fact. Yonge Street in Toronto, which is in Canada, is the longest street in the world. It is 1.896 kilometers. So it's 1.11, not 1 point, so it's 1,896 kilometers, 1,178 miles. That's one street, and it goes through Toronto, and it keeps on going. The US, and why? Because Canadians and the US have always had a kind of understanding and kinship. We don't have a military defense at the border, just border crossing guards. Canada, an interesting fact, Canada has no weapons of mass destruction to get rid of their possession. So we don't have any nukes to send off anywhere. We are a peacekeeping nation. Our military is usually sent out on peacekeeping missions. Canada, in the Iroquoian language world, means village. And what's interesting is that Kanata, where I live, the city Kanata, Kanata, was the original spelling that the Aboriginal people in this area, which was the Algonquin, used to call for Canada. So, after the attack on Pearl Harbor in World War II, Canada declared war on Japan before the US did. Because that's what we did. Canada's official for call that number. Don't know what you'd get, but large parts of Canada have less gravity than the rest of the Earth. The phenomenon was discovered in the 1960s. Isn't that interesting science fact? Canada has the third largest oil reserves in any country in the world after Saudi Arabia and Venezuela. Americans have invaded Canada twice, in 1775 and 1812. They lost both times. And doing stuff, the third, oh, the wind is blowing the snow. I'm recording. The third country in space after the US and the USSR was Canada. In Canada, Mexico, India, Russia, and Israel, banknotes have braille-like markings on them for the blind. That's a most recent thing in, I believe, 2010. During World War II, Canada gave out buttons to people who tried to enlist but were refused due to the medical reasons to show their willingness to fight. Because there were so many people that wanted to join the war efforts, but they had medical reasons why not to. My grandfather was one of them. My grandfather tried to join during the Second World War, but he couldn't because he was colorblind. So he ended up doing stuff with the railroads here and factories here to help the war effort. Canada consumes the most donuts and has the most donut shops per capita of any country in the world. Yeah, us Canadians like the sweets and we like our donuts. The North American beaver is the national animal of Canada. There is an island, an uninhabited island up north that Canada and Denmark have been fighting over it by leaving a bottle of alcohol and changing their flag since the 1930s. So whichever military um, organization goes there first, they go there, they change the flags, take the bottle of alcohol, and switch it back. So it's usually a Canadian whiskey. We leave there, and Denmark, I don't know, they leave whatever their national alcohol drink is. Ontario, Canada, that's where I live, in the province of Ontario, has more than 250,000 lakes. They contain about 1/5 of the world's fresh water. So 1/5 of the world's water. So this is why we want to have strong environmental plans to keep our water as clean as possible because we have the most water than any other country in the world. um, when flights got diverted or grounded after 9/11, Canada housed, fed, and sheltered over 33,000 passengers, especially in Newfoundland. If you go and watch the movie, I can't remember what it's called, but it's about the Newfoundland, how everybody got diverted in Newfoundland and they were stuck there for um, a few weeks, I think, or at least a week. Um, People were taken into their homes, fed. There was, did not care where they came from. That's what kind of Canada is like. Um, One of the 13 articles in the 1781 U.S. Articles of Confederation states that if Canada wants to be admitted into the U.S., it will automatically be accepted. No, sorry, we're okay. I think we're good. But that's why I think we don't have a military presence at the border of the US and Canada border because we just have border guards because we are family, we're cousins. There are so many people I know that have family in the States and family in Canada that it's just like just further away to go. I have family in the States and in Canada and in the Caribbean. Mm. It's estimated that 93,000 Canadians live in the US with expired visas more than any other group of immigrant. Probably because we tend to forget to renew them. So but that's okay. They can get sent back to Canada. It's not a big deal. Another interesting fact, the Canadian province of Alberta has been rat free for over 50 years. That is amazing. The Hawaiian pizza was invented in Canada, and it's the most popular pizza in Australia. Go figure. It has nothing to do with Hawaii. You want to hear of it? And Dildo is a town on the island of Newfoundland, Canada. I am not making this up. Newfoundland has the most unique town names than any other province. In Canada, it's illegal to carry a product designed for personal protection against a human attack, including pepper spray. Actually, that's something I did not know. Did not know you were not allowed to carry pepper spray. I know you can carry one of those noise pens, but or like a whistle, but did not know about that. In Canada, due to chronic shortage of coinage, playing cards were once used as currency. That was in the early 1900s when metal was short supplied and used for the war efforts. Canada is just 1.5% larger inland than the USA. So Space-wise, we stretch further, but we have all these lakes and stuff in the middle. But if you count all, we're just only almost 2% larger than the US. Before he was a Canadian Prime Minister, Justin Trudeau worked as a nightclub bouncer and a snowboarding instructor. He was also a high school drama teacher. Another interesting fact, a weird fact, there is a strip club in Ontario that doubles as a church on Sundays. Imagine the ladies that work there going to church on Sunday, if maybe they wear their Sunday attire. Um, Canada has a strategic maple syrup reserve to ensure global supply in case of emergency. It's hidden away so that we will never run out of maple syrup. Canada's national parks are free for kids. Also, if you have a disability, a physical disability, whether you are blind or in a wheelchair, that if you show your ID that shows that you have a disability, you can enter the national parks for half price. So your camping is half price if you have a disability. So remember I was saying about the town of Dildo in Newfoundland? The town of Dildo, Newfoundland has an annual festival called Dildo Days, which is led by their mascot, Captain Dildo. I can't make this stuff up. The world's largest gold bar weighs 250 kilograms, 551 pounds, and it's in one of our banks. Daylight savings time does not occur in Saskatchewan. So every other province in the country changes their hours. The clock goes back an hour in the fall and goes ahead in the spring, but not Saskatchewan. They stay on, I think, the regular time, the springtime time, I think. Canada has the world's smallest jail in Rodney, Ontario. It is only 24.3 square meters, that's 270 square feet. One of our famous gums that we have here is called Thrills, and it literally tastes like soap. It's purple, and people like it. We also have wine gums, which have that are made with wine. Hockey and lacrosse are Canada's national sports. And did you know that the baseball glove was invented in Canada in 1883? Canadians call our dollar coin a loonie, and they call our $2 coin a toonie. And when in full production, 15 million loonies can be produced per day by the mint. The population in Canada in 2018 was only 37.6 million. California has more population in its state than we do in the whole country. 81% of our population lives in cities, and only 19% live in the country. And less There's more space per capita per space per person per capita of land than any country in the world. Canadians can deduct a number of things from their taxes, but uh, dog food can be tax deducted, especially if your dog is either a service animal or um, a farm protection animal. If it's just a pet, I don't think you can deduct it. That's an interesting fact, eh? The average life expectancy here is 81.16 years, the sixth highest in the world. The word A, which is spelled EH, is actually in the Oxford Dictionary. And yes, Canadians do use it, not as often as TV and other media portrays us using it, but we do use it. If you want to hear something funny, we say out and about all the time. It's out. It's not a boot. Out and about. We say out and about, but it does sound funny. So that's well more than 40 facts in about Canada. Oh, alert in Nunavut territory is the northernmost most permanent settlement in the world. The highest waterfall in Canada is Delaware Falls in British Columbia, 440 meters high, 1,444 feet. And two of the largest lakes in the world are found in the Northwest Territories. One is Great Bear Lake, and the other one's Great Slave Lake. Nunavut takes up 1/5 of Canada's total land area, but they have hardly any population up there because it's so cold and so remote. A lot of places up in the Northwest Territories, you can only get there by road in the spring to fall. In the wintertime, like only way to get there is by plane, and some places you can only get there by plane the rest of the year too. So those are some quite interesting facts I thought I would share with you about Canada that you might not have known. Um, we are quite an interesting people, I would think. We're we're not usually that violent or extremely opinionated, or that we try and be decent human beings, and kind of follow that golden rule of try and do unto others as you want done to you. So you know that's, I'm not saying everybody, but the majority of people try their best. So I thought I would do this quick video of some interesting facts about Canada, and comment below which one do you think was the most interesting. Maybe you can tell me some interesting facts about where you are from. So have a wonderful day, and see you on the next video. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And thanks for watching, friends. Bye.